Votes are still being counted in California, leaving a pair of key primary races still up in the air. And officials are warning this could drag on for days.
Have they forgot how to count? Right. Maddie Rivera joins us from Washington with more. Maddie, where do things stand right now?
Yeah, so for now, you guys, Republican Steve Hilton is leading the race for California governor. The latest numbers from the Associated Press show Hilton with about 28% of the vote. Democrat Javier Becerra is in second place at nearly 26%, and fellow Democrat Tom Steyer is in third place with roughly 20%, but millions of votes still need to be counted, which, of course, could change the results. And part of the delay is because so many people in California vote by mail, and those ballots, of course, take longer to receive, verify, and count. Hilton is frustrated.
It's just unbelievable. And of course, that's why so many people don't believe the results. But it just undermines confidence. There's no excuse for it. Except this is the kind of thing I think you get with 16 years of one-party rule, this corrupt Democrat machine in power for so long. They just lose touch with reality. They don't realize how ridiculous this all seems to normal people.
So the uncounted ballots could lean Democratic, but Hilton thinks he'll maintain his lead because people are hungry for change.
Honestly, it's the conservative populism that you've been an advocate for so long. Focus on working class. The multiracial working class coalition that President Trump put together, those practical economic issues, cut your taxes.
Meantime, Republican Spencer Pratt is clinging on to second place in the race for L.A. mayor with a little more than 60% of the votes counted. Pratt is sending this message to incumbent Mayor Karen Bass, who's already advanced to the November runoff.
Obviously, God wanted 5 more months of me exposing all the failures of our mayor. So it's going to be a fun ride. I hope she's ready.
Are you ready?
I mean, I was born for this, clearly. People just want the truth. They don't want to get lied to. They want to know somebody's heart. And all I do is just speak from the heart.
The top 2 finishers in both races will face off in November, regardless of party. Lawrence Ainsley.
I am a very optimistic person. I'm optimistic at heart. Good morning. Welcome back to the live show. Welcome to the Benny Show. I got to tell you, man, I'm angry about what's going on in California. Not happy about it. And it frustrates me because the party that keeps telling you that they are for democracy and that they are for the people and the voice of the people are openly disenfranchising millions of Republicans right now, stealing the votes and the will of our nation and cratering one of the most beautiful states in the entire republic. It is evil what is happening in California. You got to stay optimistic in this business. You got to see the silver lining, stay on the sunny side of the street. Otherwise, you'll crash out and you'll light yourself on fire. So we're going to dive into this morning, Thursday, June 4th, 2026. California keeps counting the ballots, and they're gonna keep counting the ballots. In fact, we were able to investigate the Secretary of State's website today. Wait till you see what we found. Ladies and gentlemen, today Trump will also announce a pick for Attorney General. Randy Fine and Representative August Pfluger will join the program. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Ooh, man, I'm pissed about the direction of this election in California. We're going to get into it this morning. But the direction of your life financially shouldn't be as fraught as California. American Financing can make sure that you're out of high-interest credit card debt. We talk about them a lot. Make sure that you take control of your American financial future by getting out of that debt today. Debt is slavery. Debt robs from you the chance to, well, go on a vacation this summer or spend carefree time with your kids. These are the kind of black clouds that hang over your head. Get it under control and then taken care of with American Financing. They have salary-based mortgage consultants that can help their customers save hundreds of dollars a month, wiping out high-interest credit card debt. It's money back in your pocket. No upfront fees, no pressure. You can start today. American Financing, Call them, 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219, americanfinancing.net/Benny. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty pissed off, honestly. Here's the difference right here. Let's start. Let's start with a history lesson, shall we? Here's the state of Florida. This is the state of Florida in a statewide election. Last time we had a statewide election, Donald Trump won decisively. Trump won by 14 points, beating Kamala Harris in Florida. When was this called? When did the state of Florida call their elections? When did the state of Florida tell you that Donald Trump had won 99% in? At 10 p.m. election night, the state was called. There were 10 million votes counted in this election. And on election night, there's over 10 million. There's close to 11 million votes counted in this election. You can see there's hundreds of thousands of votes for third-party candidates and so on. There's 11 million votes for the two main party candidates right here, Trump and Kamala Harris. But by 10 p.m. on election night, every single precinct, every single county, all of it transmitted to the Secretary of State's office. Not a single case of voter fraud or malfeasance. All of the data in, everything locked, loaded, done, set. Game, match. In one night. Texas is the exact same way. Yet right now, we are expected to believe that in California, specifically in Los Angeles, which is the race we're going to focus the most on today, because I think that Steve Hilton's got it in the bag, but in the city of Los Angeles, that it is going to take them weeks to count a couple 100,000 votes. Yesterday, there were 200,000 votes. We're going to show you how they're actively cheating right now. We can prove it. We can show you. But it breaks against all common sense. You have to suspend your belief in every single electoral system, in mathematical probability, in efficacy and efficiency, in the technology that is being widely built in California, like AI, space-age technological and sophisticated advancements beyond human comprehension. Yet they are still counting votes, and I will show you, like literal cavemen.
Hooka, pooka, hooka, pooka. What is the ball that rises in the sun? And what is the fiery ball that rises in the sky? What is it? Dum, dum, dum.
They're trying to sell you a lie. What can happen? A live shot of what is actually happening in Los Angeles right now. This is AI. But it is emblematic of what is occurring. As hundreds of thousands of unmarked, unnamed, unsigned, unregistered mail-in ballots will flood the polling centers after the election, be counted after the election. And the Secretary of State's saying, I'm not even going to certify anything until July 10th. You understand this? Secretary of State saying July 10th is when they're going to consider certifying the election. So they're going to give them 5 weeks to cheat. Let me tell you what doesn't happen in Florida. Look at this. While this may be a meme, this ain't. This is something that's actually happening right now in the state of California. Unmarked mystery helicopters loading into unmarked vans, going to unmarked warehouses, all of the ballots for LA. Isn't that fascinating?
The Department is flying in ballots from vote centers across the region. You can see the choppers landing right now. We're standing in the parking lot of the LA County Registrar's ballot box.
Is this what an election is supposed to look like?
In the middle, and then you see
in a
workers
functional country
by to pick up those ballots and take them inside. They're picking up ballots from 8 cities, including Lancaster, Santa Clarita, Palmdale, Lakewood, Santa Monica, Van Nuys, Pomona, and Torrance. Once they arrive, the ballots are securely transferred inside, where election workers are receiving and processing millions of ballots. While most ballots are transported by vehicle, election officials use helicopters to bring in ballots.
Oh, isn't that just great? This is failed state stuff. This is third world stuff. You know what happens in Florida? They have electronic transmission and barcoded ballots tied to my name, that is tied to my ID, that goes into a machine that is not connected to the internet, that is barcoded, stamped. I get a receipt of my vote so I could track it. I could actually go into an election system, type in my number, and see that my vote was counted. That receipt is shared with the Secretary of State. That data is transmitted live, and the Secretary of State has the count by 10 p.m. The state is called by 9 p.m. The polls close at 7, get the first initial batch of results, the state's over. Nobody's flying mystery ballots in on helicopters. Where the hell are these ballots coming from? Anybody know? I can show you the fraud live. You know, we caught them, right? You know, they were caught live doing this. No other show will show you this. Everybody's too scared. I'll show you. In the California recount election, which was the last really scary moment for Democrats in the state, where Gavin Newsom was being recalled in 2021. And there were a lot of very angry people out there. Obviously, they just stolen the 2020 election. They were using Dominion voting systems. They were using these literally vote rigging and stealing technology, as we now know, out of Venezuela. And you can catch them deleting votes in real time to recall Gavin Newsom, to kick him out of office. You can see it not only here in screenshots that were taken within minutes of each other. You can see here there are 2 million people that voted to recall Gavin Newsom. And then 2 minutes later, suddenly there's only 1,800. Oh, well, surely maybe somebody's manipulating the screenshots, right? Well, what about if we had the live CNN broadcast? Watch this. Watch very closely right down here in their little vote totaling box. Watch very closely. Let's listen.
You would be thinking, number one, you're going to get to complete your term. And number two, Governor Newsom made this campaign in the end about Larry Elder, but also about the comparison.
Watch this.
California versus, say, Florida and Texas on COVID. If your Keep Newsom number stays anywhere close to that,
look at that.
The governor is going to think that it's a mandate
look at that.
by the people of California, Florida, and Texas on COVID. If your Keep
Watch.
Newsom number stays anywhere close to that, on your versus
Gavin Newsom live on CNN gains 300,000 no votes, and the yes votes, which should never go down. I can understand how, as you continue to count, maybe Gavin Newsom's votes do go up to keep him in office. But why would the vote tally for removing Gavin Newsom from office go down? Oh, did they just invalidate 300,000 ballots live? They just cured the ballots and got rid of 300,000 live? These incompetents. It's so disgusting. It's so evil. It's so corrupt. It's sickening. We saw it ourselves in this location where 27 people were registered to a toilet in an empty parking lot. Who collects those ballots exactly? Because 27 ballots are going to go to that toilet. Who picked up the ballots? Who voted for those ballots? I reposted this morning. Let's see how it's done. Oh, yeah, 10,000 reposts, 18,000 likes. Yeah. I'm going to go back out to California, and I'm going to find all these locations where people are registered because, you know, the Secretary of State called me out on this. They used those jerks. They use fat Benny. They use fat alcoholic Benny. Get the new headshot. We actually do have a new avatar. Video claiming vacant lot in Venice, California. Exposed voter fraud. The Secretary of State actually says, no, under California law, voters experiencing homelessness may register to their shelters or their physical locations. This isn't evidence of fraud. They say that the facility, that if it's a facility address is used as a mailing address, voting materials are returned undeliverable. This is interesting. So they could still vote for them. So they confirm that the Porta-John can be voted from. People can register to vote as long as they have a location where they can receive mail. Oh, interesting. So you could use, they literally say, Secretary of State's website says that in cases in which voters have no home address, they can register to the location where they live. Like, for instance, a street corner or under a stop sign or in a Burger King parking lot. This is California. They're trying to own me, all right, in this. They said that my video was false and we rate this false. Look at this. Look, read right here. Read the exact, this is from Snopes. They must describe the location where they live. County election officials can find their voting precinct. People can use cross streets or parks as their address. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Here's from the direct Secretary of State's website. Voters experiencing homelessness fact sheet. Oh, don't worry. I'm unhoused. Can I vote? Of course you can. Just tell us where you want to receive mail. We'll have somebody come and find you at your shelter or wherever you happen to be laying out doing drugs at the time, pissing yourself in your tent. If you're unable to use an address when you register to vote, you have to describe the location where you live. So it's clear enough for our election officials to find your voting precinct, cross streets, or a park as your address. You can say a public park is your address in California. Do you understand why the probability of Spencer Pratt making the runoff is now crashing? Not only have we proven that they will cheat, we've shown you how Gavin Newsom cheated to stay in office, but now we will be getting infinity mail-in ballots in order to rig the election result, which there was like a teeny drop of votes last night. But guess what? Spencer Pratt didn't budge at all. Barely budged. In fact, he lost. He was in the 30th percentile. Karen Bass gained some votes. Spencer Pratt lost votes. And Nikki Rahman, who nobody cares about, nobody knows, no one can name, nobody knows who the hell she is. She's been an absolute disaster. Suddenly she gained a bunch of votes. Oh, wow. Would you look at this? And what they need is the two libtards to all they need is two libtards at number 1 and number 2. And that's all. It doesn't matter then, because the two of them are just going to play footsie the whole way into the November election. The Democrat will win. If Spencer Pratt gets into the jungle primary, then they're in for a bloodbath. So they have to kick Pratt out. You'll notice this. Yesterday on the show, we said, there's only 200,000 votes remaining. It's going to take them weeks to count 200,000 votes. Florida counts the votes. Randy Fine's going to join the show in a second. He's from Florida. Florida counts the votes instantaneously on election night. 10 plus million. 12 million votes in 2024. Florida counted instantly on election night. 10 p.m. Called, done, over. It's in 99%. We said yesterday, 200,000 votes in Los Angeles. This is crazy. How it's going to take them weeks to count 200,000 votes? Florida counts that many votes per second. And now look, it's like magic. Suddenly, there's hundreds of thousands of more votes that we need to count. Do you see how they do this? So they widen the aperture. They widen the margins. They balloon the number of votes that they literally print off in factories. They just roll them out. And then they add to the totals because they know what percentages they need. And then Nikki Rahman overtakes Spencer Pratt by 1 vote. Oh, just at the very last second. Oh, wow. Democrats, they vote by mail. And it's just wow. We had to keep counting. And we had to keep counting well after the election. The Supreme Court is ready to rule against this right now. This infinity counting. The Supreme Court, thank God, is hearing this case, I think this week, and may rule this month on not counting votes after the election. Because it is, of course, wholly illegal and a violation of constitutional rights. I hope Spencer Pratt sues. But actually, mathematically, how would anybody bet on Rahman overtaking Pratt? With 300,000 votes left, even if you included the ballooned number, Bass keeps roughly her current pace, which would be, of course, within the range of mathematical probability. If the margins remain the exact same for Karen Bass, then between Rahman and Pratt, Rahman would have to win 60% of all remaining votes just to pass him by one vote. You're talking about mathematical probability. You're talking about Joe Biden 2020 levels of mathematical improbability. An enormous late break margin. Am I missing something? Look what they're doing. They're doing the same thing to Steve. Same thing to Steve. 1 a.m. 55% of the vote was counted. There were 4 million votes remaining. Look at this. June 3rd at 10 a.m. 57%. Look at how they did this. Okay, so let's start here. So we've already counted 58% of the votes, and there's 3.6 million votes remaining. Okay, let's count them all, right? Oh no, suddenly there's 4 million votes remaining. We needed to print off more, and now we've counted even less of the number that are in. It's theft. It's open theft. Look at this. They're panicking right now. Los Angeles registrar. Many voters return their vote-by-mail ballots on Election Day. These ballots are valid and deserve the same level of care and security. Oh, really? Does this look really secure to you? Let's just take gigantic stacks, unlimited pallets of ballots, literally overflowing, literally falling out. We'll just take unlimited pallets of ballots and we'll just slomp them on top of each other. Look at this. They're posting this. This is a threat. They're posting this as a threat. They're saying, look what we have. We'll just keep printing them until we get the results that we want. We'll just keep inflating the number of ballots we still have because we keep printing them live. Nate Silver, one of the biggest libtards in the world, and somebody who's constantly wrong, broke clock, right twice a day, says California elections are third world. This is the third world style election. This is failed state stuff, is what he says. You know, Katie Porter, in a fit of pique and rage, which is her default attitude, decided to explain exactly how elections work in California, how disenfranchised Republicans are in this state. Listen to this. The reporter says, hey, 40% of the state's MAGA voters and Trump supporters. How are you going to appeal to those people? You're such a psychotic fembot, longhouse lib. And watch her response.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're
in a general election? Yes.
How would I need, look at her. She's like, she can't even, first off, like A+ on the lighting here. Whoever was flighting this interview, like A+, they clearly hated Katie Porter. So well done. Whoever was setting up the cameras here, well done. You always got to trust your cameraman. And then her looking at the camera like this. What a villain. What an evil witch, this lady. But she says, why would I need any of the Democrats have it so sufficiently rigged in my state that I don't need Republicans. The point of our machine is to disenfranchise all Republicans. Evil witch. Here we go. Democrat strategist Leslie Marshall telling you exactly what they're going to do live on TV.
Say fraud, and how come all these ballots are coming in late? No, this is what happens. It goes red, and then it gets bluer and bluer and bluer, and that's what we saw. But like
that's what happened. So you're going to see that. Do you remember this in 2020? It was a red mirage. Do you remember that? They were telling you this in 2020. What's going to happen is Trump's going to win, and then we're going to steal it from him. Well, President Trump is saying enough. Trump on Truth Social. There's big cheating by the Democrats in California. Votes are all tied up. May not be for weeks under investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles. Vote counting delay, DJT. I think there needs to be a special master appointed right now over the California election. What they're doing is clearly unconstitutional. Trump launches probe into California election cheating, Democrats cheating in primary results, trickling in, by helicopter and unmarked vans. Here's President Trump's post. There's big cheating going on. Why is the vote counting delay? Here we go with the late massive number of mail-in ballots. The Democrats are at it again. They're trying to steal the governor's primary in Los Angeles primary away from two great Republicans. They straight up said it. They said it on TV. They told you.
That's what I'm thinking.
They told you what they're going to do.
The implications of that, right? We still have half the vote to come.
Yeah.
We're saying Pratt's got a pretty good cushion over Rahman here. And I think with this next polling place update, he may be able to expand that. But that polling place update is not going to be huge. So if we largely have half the vote to come, and it's going to be vote by mail, and you've already given me now, they've had 3 subsequent vote by mail updates. They're not huge, but they're not nothing. The pattern in them is Bass first, Rahman second, Pratt distant third.
You know, it's Hollywood, so there's got to be a script that you follow, and they're doing their predictive programming thing. They're telling you exactly what they're about to do. And by the way, like they're employing CNN in order to try and excuse the inexcusable, which is their election counting process. I'm like thankful actually for this CNN dork wobbling through the propaganda factory of their vote counting center.
Why does it take so long to count ballots in California compared to other states? Well, essentially, California leaders have made the decision that it's more important to give more people more time to make last-minute votes than it is to count quickly, where other states have said it's more important to count quickly and not necessarily give people as many options to vote at the last minute.
You're letting people register from parks. You're letting people vote from street corners and piss-soaked tents wherever they want to sleep. You're giving people 90 days to early vote, 90 days to vote by mail, unlimited ballot drop boxes. You're mailing ballots to every flipping voter in your state. Hey, low-T scumbag, CNN guy, like, does that make sense to you? What do you mean, like, we're limiting? Who's limiting their ability to vote? Nobody's limited by their ability to vote in California. California airdrops and leaf blows ballots into every single neighborhood all throughout the state. They don't care who you are. There's no voter ID. There's no voter registration rules. It is a complete third world free-for-all. This is propaganda. This is propaganda, glittering propaganda at its best. They think you're stupid. There's more ways to vote. Like a homeless guy, making a drawing with his pee on the ground outside of a dumpster in the back of a Burger King parking lot. Somebody at the registrar's office like, oh, it piss stain kind of looked like Karen Bass. We're going to count that as a vote for Karen Bass. Here we go. And the homeless guy's like, here's some super meth. Here's another crack pipe. We're just going to count that as a Karen Bass. And oh, by the way, anybody can deliver that guy's ballot. There's no limit on how many ballots you can deliver in California. No limit. Anyone can deliver anybody else's ballot unlimited. You understand these rules? And they're going to keep counting, the Secretary of State says, until July 10th. Election was 2 days ago. They're going to keep counting for 5 weeks.
So in California, you can turn your ballot in up until the very last day. As long as it is postmarked by Election Day, there's up to 7 days for that to come to a vote processing center like this one to be counted.
And you know what? They're bringing in. They're sending their best, right? Thank you for this.
Also,
thank you for this footage,
mail
CNN.
Ballots to every single registered voter in the state. Right now, about 80% of voters return their ballots by mail. Each one of them has to go through a
Look at this. Isn't this great? Look at these wonderful workers counting the ballot. There ain't gonna be no problem in any of this ballot counting. Don't you worry. They're sending their best in California. They really are. They're sending their best. President Trump is monitoring the situation in California. We've got to fix this. How California Democrats look at you when you tell them to count all their votes in one night and do it without federal felony levels of cheating. They're cheating. They're cheating. Jimmy Kimmel says they're cheating. He's freaking out about Spencer Pratt. Jimmy Kimmel's giving the orders. You better not let Spencer Pratt get number 2. And California says, don't you worry, Jimmy. Hold my super math. It's crazy. I cannot tell you enough. Like, in case anybody was wondering what this looks like, bring back in-person voting in California. They don't understand how bad their propaganda is. Putting out photos like this just shows us how rife the entire system is for fraud. California is going to take 37 days to count 9 million ballots with 0 people showing voter ID. John Thune loves that. Totally fine with John Thune. Supreme Court must kill this practice. They must kill late arriving mail-in ballots forever. I'm begging the Supreme Court, please. They're listening, but like, this is something that you have to be praying for, because this is what they're going to bring nationwide. Why does California take so long? President Trump saying the Los Angeles Attorney's Office, which is led by a guy that led voter integrity campaigns throughout the state, is ready to roll. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, one final thing. Here we go. Ron DeSantis on this process. Florida processed more than 10 million votes in a matter of hours. California takes days, sometimes weeks, to count the votes. It's pathetic. It's corrosive to our civic culture. That's exactly correct. Look at this from the Secretary of State's website. Here we go. Secretary of State's website. New data is received from county election offices after the polls close. Ballots continue to be counted after Election Day. During the canvassing period, county election officials have to report final results by July 3rd. I'll certify the results a week after that, in July 10th. Too much time. Congress must immediately open an investigation under Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. Well, let's go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and talk to a member of Congress about this, somebody who's been exceedingly patient as we get through my anger, work out my anger this morning. It's great Representative Randy Fine from the state of Florida, a state that actually counts its ballots in a timely manner and without fraud. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Congressman Randy Fine joins the show live now. I'm just enraged, Congressman. I'm sorry. I'm just angry about it all. It's tough to see. And I think it's disenfranchising Republicans. And they just seem to be at it again. What do you think about the whole Congress stepping in and investigating in California what is going on? No other state is this egregious. It does involve congressional review. It should.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Look, I was listening to you getting angry myself because it is infuriating. So let's look at Florida and how we do it and compare it to California. In Florida, in the 2024 cycle, we counted 3 million mail-in ballots, and we had them counted on the day of the election because the supervisor of elections count them as they are coming in. We also tell people you have to mail them so they arrive on election day. But if you can't, you can drop off your ballot at a supervisor of elections office. So 3 million mail-in ballots. We also offer 13 days of early voting. Early voting ends 2 days before the election. We have all those votes counted. So when the polls close at 7 p.m., at 7:01, they release all of the early vote totals and all of the mail-in vote totals at that moment. And frankly, I've known that I've won my elections because that's typically 60 to 70% of the vote. And then over the next couple of hours, the day of votes come in, and literally by 8 or 9 o'clock, the election is over. We are the third largest state in the country, and we are able to do this. California is making a choice not to do it this way. And the problem is there is no logical reason for them to make this choice other than to have the capability to cheat. There's no reason to do it. It is corrosive to democracy to have these ballots come in over and over and over again, have the results change. It legitimately gives people reason to doubt the outcome. That's why I'm joining the calls for the Justice Department to investigate, because what they are doing in California is fraud. There's no question about it, because if they didn't want to cheat, they wouldn't have to do it this way.
So what does that mean you're joining the calls? Congress could potentially step in here. Would you be calling for investigations?
I'm calling on the Justice Department to go after them. But we can as well. But look, we're having a hard time getting a photo ID done. I mean, I agree with the president. We need to add the Save America Act to every bill. And I've suggested to my Freedom Caucus colleagues that we do the same in order to pass some of these must-pass bills. Our election system in blue states is set up for fraud. They don't care who votes. They're fine with illegals voting. They don't want voter ID. They want to be able to count infinity ballots forever. This is a third world banana republic in California, and it is not fair to those of us who live in the well-run states to have to deal with them. That's why the federal government should step in.
And so if you go 1-to-1, right? So I live in Tampa, and there's millions of votes here in Tampa. And Tampa, of course, returns all of its numbers in a single night. Mm-hmm. And maybe it might go from 98% reporting to 99% reporting the next day, but you're able to see exactly where the election's going to shake out. And if there's only a 5-vote difference, maybe it'll come down to a nail biter. There typically isn't, right? And so why would it take so long to even get up to that 99% in California? They already have the ballots. 50% of the ballots are not currently in the mail. They're purposefully counting slowly and not counting in order to mess with the numbers. Because again, I live in a large metropolitan area. They say there's 300,000 ballots outstanding in Los Angeles, right? And there's only we can put up the margins here. There's only a couple hundred. There was not that many people that actually voted in LA. Here, let's put it up right here. There's not really that many number of people. Everyone's getting, the top vote getter is 183,000 ballots. So in no universe should it take you even an afternoon to count a couple 100,000 ballots and give us at least, Congressman, 99% reporting, right? Let's say some mail-in ballots trickle in. Fine, right? But why can't you get up to 98% reporting? Why couldn't you just count the ballots right now?
Because they make a choice. So in Florida, they count the mail-in ballots as they arrive. No one knows the results. Our elections offices are very good at keeping that information confidential. But as the ballots arrive, they are counted. So the only mail-in ballots that have to be counted on Election Day are the mail-in ballots that arrived on Election Day, which is going to be a very small number. In states like California, they choose not to count any ballots until the polls close. They put them in giant boxes in the kind of horrible video that you showed, and they sit in warehouses and they do nothing until after the polls close, when frankly, they know how many votes they need to manufacture in order to win. The California system is set up to eliminate any confidence in the results. They've designed a system that people absolutely are worried about the outcome, and it's simply not okay. Everyone should do their elections the way Florida does it. We're the third largest state. We proved this incompetence is a choice.
So do you believe that what's happening here is unconstitutional?
Absolutely. I particularly when it comes to congressional elections. Look, states, if they want to have banana republics in their cities and towns, it's probably a violation of people's rights, but it is a violation of my constituents' rights to have people in Congress from California who may not be legitimately elected. What happens in California affects Florida, because I have to serve with these numbnuts in Congress who may or may not have been elected legally.
That's very interesting. So yeah, you're exactly right. It could completely change whether you get a committee spot or where the vectors of power are. By using these style of election systems, you get a different number of Democrats in Congress. Something like 50 Democrats are sent to the vast majority of Democrats in their caucus are sent from California using this system.
Yeah, so if they cheat, and they absolutely have the capability to cheat, they have designed a system that is designed to cheat. They have created no safeguards, no security. They've created every incentive and every ability to cheat. If they're able to get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more Democratic Congress people out of California, as a result, that could determine the balance of power in Washington. So if you are in Texas, if you are in Florida or Georgia or any state in the country, cheating in California affects you and it affects your constitutional rights. And that's why we have a federal responsibility to do something about it.
So you believe that the best action here would be going through the Justice Department. What would that look like?
Well, that's one option. I mean, look, they need to investigate because I guarantee there's cheating going on. The best outcome is federal standards to say, look, if it were up to me, I would pass a law that says everyone has to do their elections the way we do it in Florida. You have to have your ballots mailed in. They have to arrive by election day. You do 13 days of early voting. That's plenty of time to show up at the polling place. You have an election on election day, and then it's over that night. And the reason I would do it the Florida way is we're not a small state. No offense to a Rhode Island or a New Hampshire. They don't have that many people. We've got 21 million people, yet bigger than many countries, yet we are able to get the results done that night. We prove that inept, incompetent elections in California are a choice. California can't say, oh, we can't do it the right way because we're just too big. That's not a choice because we prove how to do it the right way in Florida.
Look at this map. I mean, I'm not sure if you have a confidence monitor, but you can see here close to 12 million people voting in the state of Florida in the last statewide election, 30 electoral votes on the line. And this was called 99% by 10 p.m.
Yep.
The entire state.
And by the way, it's probably 70% called within 1 minute of the polls closing.
Wow.
Remember, there's 3 pots of votes. There's the people who mailed them in. That was 3 million votes. I looked it up. 3 million of those votes were mail-in ballots. Those are all counted in advance as they arrive. The only ones that aren't counted by 7 o'clock on election night are the ones that arrived that day. So at 7:01, they release all the mail-in ballots. At 7:01, they release all the early in-person voting. We had 13 days of in-person early voting that ended 2 days before the elections. Those are all counted. Those are all released at 7:01. The only ballots that are counted after 7 o'clock are the ones that were cast that day. It's about a third of the ballots, and they get that in over the next couple of hours, and then we know who won. To not do this is a choice. And you have to ask, why would you make this choice? The only reason you can come up with to not make this choice is you want to have the capability to cheat. It's the only reason to not do it the way we do it.
What does it say, Randy, about the state of California that the 2 leading Democrats that are running for president in 2028 are from California? It'd be Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris. Nobody else really even registers. What does that say about the future that the Democrat Party wants for the country?
Well, look, my year in Congress has taught me this. Democrats seek to destroy America. Unfortunately, most Republicans are content with managing our decline politely. But these are people who have destroyed their state. I was just out in California a couple of weeks ago, and it's sad to see what is arguably the most beautiful state in our country in terms of the weather, in terms of the natural scenic beauty, national parks, to see it destroyed with homeless encampments everywhere, with drugs everywhere. I mean, the state has been ruined by these people. And the fact that they want more of it makes you ask the question, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah, I'm really, oh, hey, ALX, I want the Texas numbers. My producers are asking. I want the Texas numbers for 2024. How many people voted in Texas? I want to see the numbers. So it's like 12 million people were counted in Florida. How many people would they count in Texas? it's inconceivable, Congressman.
There are massive differences between how blue states and red states run our elections.
Yes.
And again, by the way, in Florida, not only do we count the votes, we do photo ID in all of our elections.
That's right.
We don't let illegal immigrants vote in our elections. I mean, literally, if all we did was take the Florida model and federalize it, we would solve 99% of the problems in these elections. And people don't want to talk about it. In California, they will make all of these excuses. We saw this, frankly, during COVID as well, where no one wanted to talk about Florida because we were open and everyone was happy and living their lives. Florida proves that there is a choice. It is a choice. Decline is a choice. The way they live in California, it is a choice. It is a choice we do not make in Florida. And frankly, if we could just make America Florida, we wouldn't have most of the problems that we have in this country today.
The problem is our Republican Senate, who refuses to pass the Save America Act and begin to show people that they're serious about combating problems like this. And John Thune got a bit of an ass kicking recently over all of this. What does it say about the state of the Republican Party? And what's your take, since you have a bit of a fresh perspective on this in Congress, about how the Senate is behaving when it comes to legislation like this? It really has irritated a considerable portion of our audience.
Well, it's irritated me. Just so you know, a number of weeks ago, I made a decision, and I said it publicly, that I would not vote for a single Senate bill until they pass the Save America Act. And I have kept my word. Every time a bill comes over that has an S number in front of it, I tell my staff, we don't even need to read and summarize the bill. If it's coming from the Senate, I don't care what feel-good item it is, we're voting no. Because until we secure our elections, until we give Americans confidence in our electoral system, nothing else matters. I am incredibly frustrated with the Senate because what I see is Democratic senators who are united and singularly focused on destroying the country, so much so that they will support a guy with a Nazi concentration camp tattoo on his chest. That's how determined they are to destroy the country. Yet Republicans want to sit around and talk about how can we be nice and how can we work with Democrats on housing bills and how can we be bipartisan and all of this other stuff. And then they don't actually get the job done. I didn't come to Washington to work with Democrats. I came to Washington to defeat Democrats. And that is what the Senate needs to understand. And frankly, it has been hugely disappointing to watch the dysfunction over there.
That's exactly right. And they're like this. I mean, Susan Collins, she must have the anointing of heaven to get the opponents that she gets in her races.
Yeah.
And because by all measures, she should be losing. And I'm not a huge Susan Collins fan, but I'll take the R over a D any day. But yeah, it was this came up last night, actually, on Jesse Waters. It's like, well, when is Barack Obama going to go campaign with the Nazi? Like, right? Like at some point, you're just going to have, at some point, Obama's going to have to go out there and like stand on stage and hold his hands. Elizabeth Warren's done it. Bernie's done it. Like nobody seems to be backing away from Plattner. His odds are collapsing after scandal and more scandal. But like, dude, the guy's got an actual Nazi tattoo. Like, why don't we need to make them own it? Like, we need to straight up like be asking them.
Because
also,
they
if
don't
Elizabeth
care.
Warren took away her endorsement of Graham Plattner, would that make her an Indian giver?
I think what's clear is they don't care about anything except power. You know, if all of the things that they say about protecting women, about standing with Jews against anti-Semitism, all of these things, they're all nonsense. They are things that they simply say in order to accrue power, in order to continue to damage this country. I mean, Plattner is an embarrassment of a candidate on a bunch of different levels, but it's not the first example. Going back to California, the issues with Swalwell of a few months ago, they knew exactly what a dirtbag that guy was. They didn't care. All of his sexual indiscretions, again, the party of women and Me Too, they knew all of these things. They didn't care until it got in the way, until it threatened their ability to accrue power. They'll throw Plattner under the bus the minute they think he gets in the way of their power. They don't care about anything except conquest. And that's why we can never allow them to take power.
I just want a real quick question for you that was kind of interesting to me. Yesterday, President Trump confirmed that he lit into Bibi Netanyahu and went scorched earth and a profanity lace, like, what the F are you doing here? We want peace and you're getting in the way, and so on. Your take on all of this, what do you think should happen in wrapping up the Iran theater, Congressman?
Well, look, the interests of the United States and Israel are not always the same. President Trump wants the conflict in Iran to come to an end. I mean, that's something that I want. No nuclear weapon, no missile to deliver a nuclear weapon, no Navy. Israel wants those things too, but they also want rockets to stop being fired at them from Muslim terrorists who are occupying Lebanon. The Hezbollah, who just 2 days ago fired 32 rockets at civilians. Those 32 rockets don't generally affect America and frankly might get in the way of us getting that peace deal done. So our interests diverge. Israel wants the rockets to stop. America wants the peace deal with Iran. And that's why these two leaders, who are great friends overall, sometimes will be at cross purposes. But what I would say to the American people is, if Muslim terrorists were firing 32 rockets at us, or Cuba or Mexico, we wouldn't put up with it. And why should we expect them to do it as well? So I want that conflict with Iran to come to an end, but I respect the right of the Israelis to say, we are not going to live under Muslim terror every day.
You're right. It seems like an Israeli problem, right? Not an American problem. So
the Hezbollah problem in Lebanon is an Israeli problem. The Iranian problem is an American problem, because Iran wants to create a nuclear weapon so they can attack the United States. So there are different kinds of problems, and that's why each country has its own leader.
That's why I want it to be. I want it to be wrapped up, man. I want it to be. I like when it comes to these issues. I think that it's like critically important to sort of delineate that President Trump's entire purpose in life must be the protection of the American people, and has to be the protection of the nation and the best interest of the nation. And that's what's America first. And quite frankly, that's what people are going to be thinking about when they're filling up their gas tanks, buying their groceries, or buying their homes, trying to. And so we're constantly banging on about that on this program, that is the purpose of the movement, right? And so we want everything that gets in the way of that to be brushed off, or to have a peace agreement, or to be moved out. I think the Ukraine war is the exact same thing. That's why we're constantly driving towards peace. And we're thankful for you, Congressman, and we appreciate it. Everybody follow Congressman Randy Fine, who is representing a state that actually counts its elections, it counts its ballots in the same night, and that runs things properly. We'll hope for this investigation at the DOJ to bear some fruits in California. Godspeed, Congressman.
Thanks for having me.
We have some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, over the something we haven't talked about in a long time, in almost a year, the documents case with John Bolton. This is very interesting. Klein, let's go to this. Thank you. It's breaking news. What do we got here? Former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton will plead guilty to retaining classified information, AP source says. Look at that. Ex-National Security Advisor John Bolton pleading guilty. So they got him. They raided his house and they got him. Under the agreement, Bolton would face a $2.25 million fine. Whoa. So the person, anonymity to discuss the deal, was made public. Any prison sentence would be capped at 5 years. An agreement allows him to avoid time behind bars, although the punishment will ultimately be decided by a judge. There'll be an arraignment, a plea agreement, scheduled for June 26th. So they got him dead to rights. The deal would revolve around a criminal case, charged him with 18 counts of retaining or sharing diary-like notes with family members and officials that contain classified information while he was preparing his memoir of his time in the government. So a $2.2 million fine and potentially 5 years in prison for John Bolton. Wow. That is very interesting breaking news. When news breaks, it's often good to have your mobile device handy and ready, as we do day and night. And, well, Patriot Mobile is the device that we use. It is premium service on America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Ladies and gentlemen, we love Patriot Mobile because they give us wireless solutions when we're out in tough places, when we're in the field working, or when we're here in our studio. We are locked in with our Patriot Mobile devices, and we can deliver the news to you, the breaking news, just like we did. Make sure that you can hop on the same network that we use, the fastest, most reliable in America. You can activate in minutes. You can keep your own number, or you can upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT, and use the promo code Benny. Get a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have another member of Congress on the program. Very excited to talk to some members of Congress, this time from the state of Texas, the great state of Texas. We have August Pfluger joining live right now. Congressman, welcome back. Look at that. Look at the trophies on the wall. That's a great shot right there. Fantastic.
Nothing says Texas like that background right there. It's great to be with you today, Benny.
Okay, did you hunt? Did you hunt those bucks yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Where'd you get them?
These are in West Texas, near my hometown of San Angelo. Grew up in a ranching family, so as part of the deal, I'd help with the livestock, and then my dad would say, "Okay, now you can go hunt now," which was that was the passion.
It's great. It's a great state. It's a state that I want to put up some data for you right here. The state of Texas was able to count close to 12 million ballots in a single hour, effectively delivering its results by 10 p.m. on election night in the year 2024. 11,400,000 ballots were counted by your state. Yet California is telling us that they are going to need weeks to count a few 100,000 ballots. Well, what's going on in that state, Congressman?
No, well, if it's just around counting, I think the problem is they're probably looking for more ballots. But let's remind everybody, this is the state that has Silicon Valley. This is the state that tech is supposedly king, where they've made more headway on innovations and things like that in the tech space. So I don't think it's the ability to count. I think it's the willingness to appropriately count. That's what's going on in that state.
So what can Congress do to alleviate what looks like an absolute and total cheating operation going on in California right now?
Well, why don't we start with the Save America Act?
Yeah.
Obviously something that as the Republican Study Committee chair, I have pushed for. And I actually passed a bill last year here to not let non-citizens vote in D.C. We have jurisdiction, we got 50 plus Democrats to vote in favor of that. Amazing. And yet they can't find the courage to vote for Save America, which says you would have to prove that you're a citizen. And when you go vote, you'd have to actually show your ID that says you're a citizen and those kinds of things. So let's start with that. Why don't we have some election integrity around who you are? You get one vote, not two. You don't get zero if you're a citizen, and you should go exercise that constitutional authority. And then you bring up an interesting point. I mean, is there something federally that we can do to incentivize or to maybe use a stick to make sure that people, states, and those that we know are not run very well, to get those results in? I mean, in Texas, we can do it. Florida had issues 25 years ago. They fixed that, and now they're voting and counting appropriately. And there may be a role for Congress here.
Yeah, Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution says the guarantee clause mandates that the federal government can guarantee that every state a Republican form of government protects states against foreign invasion, which of course would be all of the illegals voting in California's elections, and provide protections against domestic violence or civil unrest as requested by the state legislature or executive. So that would seem like a decent clause for Congress to appoint a special master over the elections in California. It's like the way that it's being operated is driving people insane. I mean, it's guaranteeing an erosion in the systems and institutions of the state, and it's clearly disenfranchising Republican voters.
Well, you're right. And I just go back to the Save America Act. I mean, I think the guarantee here starts with knowing who is voting, knowing who is on the rolls. Give us an audit of who's on your voter rolls. Give us an audit that you can prove that it was only those on the rolls that voted. It wasn't somebody else, and that you can prove that the numbers match up with those people. I mean, this is just common sense. I mean, the founders could never have dreamed of the kind of things that some of these states are doing right now, where they don't have control of the ballots. They're being sent out, or they're able to drop them in a variety of locations. You don't need a signature. You don't need an ID. I mean, this is just ridiculous. You need a signature, an ID, and proof of who you are in every facet of your lives, except for voting. I don't buy that.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see a little more urgency from the Republican Senate. Obviously, they're licking their wounds over the outrage that people have that they just refuse to pass voter ID or refuse to even try. And I think it's making people very angry. And then we watch what's happening in California. All of this would be solved by voter ID and by the Supreme Court if they could decide to not allow the counting of ballots after Election Day. Where does that stand right now, Congressman?
We're watching it just like you. We hope to see breaking news on it just like you do. But again, you have an election day. Well, why are we waiting 20, 30, 40 days afterwards to see who has voted and what the results are? That's ridiculous, especially with the technology that we have. This should be an easy one. So, yeah, and I share the frustration, too, by the way. I mean, the House has passed the SAVE Act and then the Save America Act multiple times. We expect that to be taken up in the Senate. They need to do that. And there's no excuse. I mean, this is something that our constituents are asking for daily.
So something that Randy Fine was just on, and something that our constituents here on this program are asking for, is to have the bills taken up to say that you can't be a member of a foreign country or have a foreign passport or be born in a foreign land and serve in Congress. What do you think about that?
Well, look, I think the Constitution is clear on a couple of things. Number one, to be the president, you have to be born here, and that's very clear. It doesn't delineate that you have to be born here, for the other offices, Congress being the one that we're talking about. We do swear an oath, and so there are several candidates and there are several members of Congress that I wonder where their oath of allegiance actually is to. Let's talk about the blind sheikh, the candidate in New Jersey who has allegedly ties to terror organizations. But this is outrageous. Why are we not talking about these allegiances? And do we want to pass a constitutional amendment that says you have to be born here? I mean, this may be something that we need, more time to talk about. But the fact is, I served in the military, and we did have folks that were not born in the United States that were serving in the military, but they swore that oath to protect and defend the Constitution, to serve this country, and to protect our freedoms. We cannot be in a situation where you have elected officials where that's in question.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the easiest way to make it not in question is to make the same rules that you have for the presidency and to not have dual citizens serving in Congress. That seems suicidal to any culture. No other nation, by the way, would ever allow that, and nations don't allow that. Other countries don't allow that.
Well, if you're talking about dual citizenship, 100%, that's ridiculous, and so you're absolutely right.
Okay, so you would support that and dual citizenships in Congress?
I think swearing an allegiance to an oath of office means you have one country that you have an allegiance to, not two passports, but one country. I think that is pretty common sense.
Okay, good. That'd be a fun thing to drive forward. We're looking to be as big of a thorn in the paw of the wimpy Rhino Senate as possible. So we need to start pushing things that are really going to ruffle feathers over there and create frictions where we can finally fix some problems in the weakness, stiffen the spines of the Republican Party. Sounds like you guys are going through reconciliation 3.0, trying to root out some fraud and get a vote potentially tonight. It sounds like that might actually happen. Tell me, what's in this new reconciliation bill?
Well, I'll delineate, the votes that are going on in the Senate right now are to fund DHS because Democrats have stood in the way, blocked funding for Border Patrol, for ICE. I mean, obviously we know how tragic that is. What we're working on is something a little bit different. The Republican Study Committee is 190 members. We've been the driving force with a plan of action to get more done, to codify President Trump's executive orders, to tackle things on affordability, where we know we can come together as a group of Republicans and we can tackle some hard issues. But fraud is at the heart of this, because look at what Dr. Oz is uncovering. Look at what's happening with Medicaid and Medicare scams in California, with hospice offices opening up in California and literally stealing taxpayer money. In places like Minnesota, that's the junior varsity level of the daycares that were stealing taxpayer money. These programs were designed for the most vulnerable of our country, and literally you have organized crime and just absolute criminals stealing this money. We as a body of Congress are 100% committed to making sure that this doesn't happen. And the swamp has reached back out. I mean, this is what President Trump meant when he said, I'm going to drain the swamp, is he meant that he was going to go after corruption. He meant that he was going to go after fraud. And we need to codify it, put it in the statute, and reconciliation is the place where I believe we can get that done.
Well, we pray that you're successful. We want to see a more aggressive approach from Congress when it comes to going after fraud. We like the Save America Act a lot. We think there can be more done, but we appreciate your work and your fight on this, Congressman. Thank you, Congressman August Pfluger. You can follow him right here. Godspeed and happy hunting. I don't know if I'll see you at the Texas GOP convention, but I'll be there next week. So we're excited about that.
You're welcome in Texas anytime, and thank you for getting our message out. We are aggressive, and we want to see this country succeed, and we have to be aggressive with a sense of urgency right now. So thank you.
Godspeed, Congressman. Things are happening. Things are happening. All right. Boy, John Bolton getting 5 years in prison and $2.2 million fine. Woof. Very interesting stuff. Gentlemen, I just want to say I'm angry about what's going on in California. I share your anger. I'm looking through ALX. Did we hit everything? Do we have all the updates out of California? Did we hit everything that we can? Yeah, it's really frustrating. It makes me very angry, and they know how the news cycle works too. That's the problem, is they know that people get exhausted in the news cycle. And so you're done. I think that there's Iran fatigue right in here. Like even like asking Randy Fine about it, I'm like, like people just want it to be over. I just want it to be over. I want it to be done. Let's go America first. Like I don't care about that region of the world. I don't care about those countries. I don't care. I care about my country. There's fatigue, and they know that like California, they understand that you can't do like 11 news cycles in a row on California cheating and voter fraud if they don't give you any information, if you're not getting any new information. And so we've given you all the information that we have right now. There's like a trickle of votes that they just a few, just a trickle. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to just a little bit of fraud every single day, not enough to like blow the doors off, but just enough so that by the time it's July. So what are we going to do? It's July. Today is the 4th. So it's going to be another 5 weeks until they're finished counting and they certify the election results. You're going to do 5 straight weeks of California fraud shows. They know they can wait you out. Wait you out. Exactly what Iran is trying to do to Trump right now. It's like, wait him out. Man, it's evil. It's totally evil. It's the same tactics, ladies and gentlemen. California, the golden state, they used to call it, not golden anymore. But gold is still valuable. You can put gold in your 401k or IRA using my friends at Advantage Gold. That you have something that's not just like paper, fugazi, poof, goes away. What are you leaving your kids exactly? Are you leaving your kids paper, numbers in a ledger, decimals, and binary code in a computer somewhere? Are you leaving them something physical that will hold value for all time? Physical gold and silver. I've diversified into physical gold and silver. Nations are doing this. Billionaires are doing this. And that's why gold has skyrocketed way past paper currencies. Right now, you can get a free gold investment kit and figure out exactly how this operation works. Text Benny to 85545, Benny to 85545. Inside, you'll discover How to move your retirement into physical gold and silver with Advantage Gold. No cost, no obligation. Text Benny to 85545 to leave something real. Yeah, let's go ahead and say something real is happening in Texas. It makes us very happy. That's so silly. Why didn't I ask about Carmelo Anthony? Well, I'd probably just get a boilerplate answer. Why didn't I ask about Carmelo Anthony? It's big news yesterday in the Carmelo Anthony trial that they sat a jury. They sat a jury that did not have any black people on it. And I guess the reason why this is critically important is that we know, based on the O.J. Simpson trial and the genius and malevolent move by O.J.'s lawyers to move his trial from a rich white part of L.A. to a ghetto urban part of L.A., and so that he could get a sympathetic jury pool that would do what they ended up doing, which is to literally let a man get away with murder. O.J. Simpson slaughtered and gutted with a knife his white wife and another dude. He splattered their blood all over his hands and face, car, all over his mansion. He was guilty as hell. He even admitted he did it to the cops when they arrested him after he fled, like all innocent people do. And the black jurors said, we were not going to find him guilty no matter what. No matter what you showed us. We weren't going to do it because of revenge. We were going to get back at you. We're going to get back at you for Rodney King, which is like the George Floyd of their time. Some super meth head that fought the cops and got beat up for it. And so this is like, this is a strategy that they use in a diverse republic like we have in order to play to juries and to rig juries. Well, it didn't work with Carmelo Anthony. And so Carmelo Anthony, who's guilty as hell, who's on camera. I mean, I guess OJ wasn't on camera necessarily committing the murders. Carmelo Anthony is. He admitted it to the cops just like OJ did. He said, I did it. They have the murder weapon. They have the DNA. They have 20 witnesses. There's no question. The question now is, does the kid fry? And the answer is no. I just want to prepare everyone for this. We've looked into it pretty extensively. If you are under the age of 18 when you kill someone in Texas, you'll get life in prison, but they won't execute a minor. And that's in the state constitution. I'm not sure if there's any way around that. I'm not a lawyer, but that's how the Constitution reads. And that's how, unfortunately, this case is going to go. That being said, you could get life in prison without parole. These could be the end of your life, and you'll never get your life back. And that's exactly what should happen here. Now, the trial is going to happen today. They're going to do opening statements today. And they're going to try a self-defense argument, right? That's how they're going to plead to the jury. I don't think it's going to work. Again, you would need some type of brain-rotted jury pool in order to fix this problem for Carmelo Anthony, and it ain't going to be fixed, and they didn't get that. So big news out of the Carmelo Anthony. We'll be following this extremely closely. President Trump potentially, he says he's going to nominate acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to permanently lead the Justice Department. We think that Todd Blanche has done an incredible job. We're actually pretty big fans of Todd Blanche. I don't know him personally, but I'm a big fan of his work right now. There's a video announcement. Here we go.
Attorney General, tomorrow I'm instructing Dan and everybody else that's involved in that very complicated process, which is going to go, I think, very quickly, that we are going to make him permanent Attorney General.
Okay. Well, there you have it. President Trump locking in. Please, Mr. Attorney General, if you're going to make him a permanent Attorney General, go after the fraud in California. We beg of you. Please. Fraud in California. I am telling you, I'm worried about what's going on. We're going to keep watching it. The odds have flipped pretty dramatically in favor of the communist Nikki Rahman that nobody likes. Steve Hilton is still projected to do really well and to make it into the jungle primary in California for the governor's race, I think it'd be really virtually impossible. I mean, mathematically, it'd be revolution territory, like truly like federal felony, like federal prison for life with Steve Hilton's race, because you'd have to manufacture millions upon millions of votes. They could do it. We'll see. Keep praying. It's really, don't put your faith in men, put your faith in God. Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary of doing good, for at the proper time we'll reap the harvest if we do not give up. Do not give up. Maybe we will do 5 straight. Hey, Alex, you ready? You ready to do 5 weeks of California election fraud videos? You ready? You ready? We can do it. We can try, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we can try. But either way, we'll be marching with you on to victory that is guaranteed us in our faith, in our Lord Jesus Christ, and in the Savior of the universe. And in that, we can have 100% confidence in the result that Christ is King. March with us. It's your boy, Benny. See ya.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media dill weeds. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind. The salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for #1. Show come to mind. The salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for #1. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.